So I'm Rebecca Turner. I'm the technical lead for the NPM command line tools team. And I'm here to talk to you about NPM 5, which has been our last 6 months or so. And the first thing you'll notice at NPM 5 is that it is really, really fast. Just like astoundingly fast. And how fast? Well, 5.0 was 4 to 5 times faster than 4.0. 5.2 was 6 to 8 times faster than 4.0. And the current version is in the range of 10 times faster than 4.0. So like our current next release can do 2,200 packages in 24 seconds, 10 milliseconds per package. It is faster than I thought we would actually be able to make it. The next big change is that we're introduced a new file. And the new file is called package lock. And package lock files, well, we had a lock file before, and it was called shrink wrap. Package lock files are the same file format. The difference is that you always get a package lock file. And package lock files are never published. And so package locks store which versions we actually installed in your node modules folder, so that when other members of your development team or members of, or if it's open source, members of the public who are trying to contribute, they'll have exactly the same versions you're working with. And this can reduce confusion between different developers. It also, for our perspective, it was important because it substantially improved the speed. Because basically, you're recording all the work you did, so you don't have to do it again every time someone runs install. Now, to make the lock file work, we had to have save by default. So now you can say no save if you don't want it to save, or you can put save false in your config and it'll stop saving. But by default, it's going to update your package.json, your package lock, shrink wrap if you have one, anytime you install a module or remove a module or update a module. Now, the speed in part came from having a package lock, but the other part is the place where we first saw the speed improvements was in the cache. And the cache, NPM has always had a cache, but it was much slower than we realized. And we didn't realize just how slow it was until we replaced it. It was so slow that there were times where installs from the network would take the same amount of time as installing from the cache. I don't know how it's possible to make it that slow, but that was the case. And by the time we realized that it was that slow, we had replaced it. So we didn't spend a lot of time going back to figure out what on earth it was doing. So the new cache is split out into 3 modules. You've got cache, which is a content addressable cache, right in the name. It's the core thing that does writing. It allows arbitrary concurrency with no lock files, and which is why it's so fast. There's pacoche, which is Portuguese for package. It's the thing that actually knows how to download packages off the internet. It's the thing that knows how to talk to the registry. And it stores stuff using cache. And then there's make fetch happen. Make fetch happen took the fetch, it's a wrapper around the fetch library, around the node fetch library. And it adds full browser cache semantics to fetch. And so that means that if the registry says you should cache this for 2 weeks, then we'll cache it for 2 weeks. If you should cache this for 5 minutes, we'll cache it for 5 minutes. This is nice from our point of view because it means we can make changes to cache lifetimes by just changing things in our registry. It also means that private registries have control over this now too. We get some advantages out of this. We have recovery from bad networks. So if you've downloaded a package before and you go to install it again, it will notice that your network isn't working and that you can't talk to one of the registries for some reason, in which case it will fall back to using the version from the cache if it has one. And it does this transparently, and it does this on a per registry basis. So if you're using private registries, and so you went behind a firewall and now you can only talk to the private registry, it'll still install from the private registry while installing from the cache for things from the public registry. And we have a couple of ways of tuning that. The default is prefer online, which says check with the online registry if at all possible, and only if it's down do we go to the cache cache first. But you can say prefer offline, which says try to get it from the cache, but if it's not in the cache, if it's a cache miss, then go download it off the internet. And then there's full offline mode, which says, if it's not in the cache, just give me an error. Like, I know you can't get to the internet, or I don't want you to get to the internet, so those are handy. And relatedly, cache corruption is, the way Kcache is written, cache corruption will never be something that's visible to users. We detect on every time you install a package, we check the SHA-SUM for the package. Actually, the only NPM package manager that currently does this. Everyone else does it on download, but doesn't do it on every install. This one does it on every install, and that means that if you get random corruption in your cache, it will go, oh, that's broken, throw it away, download a new one. Next new thing, file type dependencies. Not a feature that many people have used. File type dependencies are, you can go npm install directory name, and if you have a package.json in that directory, it'll install it as if it was a package. Previously, we would make a copy of the directory. Now, the problem with this is you'd go edit stuff in that folder, and then how do you get that copied into your node modules folder? Like, npm doesn't know that that directory changed. We don't have directory watchers. So our solution to that is that this now makes symlinks instead of copying the file. And this means, of course, that you edit the file, it's changed immediately. This is primarily used for workflows that involve monorepos, where you've got a bunch of packages checked into the same location. It's not a full monorepo solution. It's the first piece of a set of them, a set of pieces that will come related to that. Another big change is more complete Git support. So you've always been able to have Git dependencies with npm, but one of the things people have really wanted was Bower-style dependencies where you can actually put symver for your Git dependency and go, well, give me the most recent 2.x tag for this Git dependency. Well, you can do that now. You just specify it with symver : and then you give it the symver specifier, and it will match against the tags on that project. And the other piece that was missing from Git dependencies that made them not really full-fledged members of the ecosystem was that there was no way to have your Git dependency, it was technically possible. It involved a lot of work to have a Git dependency that was also published to the registry that had a build step of any kind. So if you were using Babel to compile down ES 2017 into something that Node can run, you had to do something weird with like post-install scripts, but you don't want to put those on the registry because that means everyone installing your package has to install Babel, and normally you wouldn't do that. Normally with a registry package, you'd put this in something like a prepare lifecycle or a pre-publish lifecycle. Well, Git deps will now actually run the prepare lifecycles, and they didn't do this previously. The reason they didn't do this is in order to run the prepare lifecycle, we have to install all of your dev dependencies. And of course, it substantially slows it down, but it makes it actually be possible. And we use the prepare lifecycle only. Prepare is a new lifecycle that we introduced in npm 4. And it runs at the same time that pre-publish runs, but it has a name that actually makes sense rather than pre-publish, which runs when you run npm install with no arguments. And it also runs when you publish it. And no one understands, does not make any sense. Or if you run npm pack, it also runs pre-publish, which everyone finds surprising. Prepare makes more sense. But the thing I'm most excited about with npm 5, and if you install npm 5.2 or later, you get npx. And npx is a new command line tool that's shipping alongside npm. And npx allows you to do a number of things. It allows you to run your development bins. So anything that's installed as a development dependency, like ESLint, you can run npx ESLint, and it will go find the ESLint binary and run it for you. So it's like doing node modules /.bin /ESLint, but much shorter. And you can run it from any subdirectory in your project. So if you cd into test and you want to run it from there, it supports that. It also supports running things that you don't have installed on your system. So if you give it the name of something that's not in your node modules folder and that's not installed globally, it will just go download it from the internet and run it for you. So like if you run this command, it'll go run your test suite while playing yakety sax until it completes. And npx lets you do lots of interesting things. It lets you try out software where you're not sure if you want to use it yet. It's also great for like template building. Like I want to use a generator on my site to generate code. Well, you don't have to install it globally in order to run the generator once and then never run it again. You can just use npx. And the very most, like this just landed today. npx can now, you can do npx node at version number, and it will install that version of node and then run whatever command you give it with that version of node. So you can, for instance, go, you know, when node 9 is cut, go, I want to run my test suite with node 9, see how it's doing. npx node at 9 npm test, and it will do that. Relatedly, we have a canary release now. And what this means is whenever we're testing out new ideas, whenever we merge pull requests, we do new canary releases, which is npm-c. And you can have this installed side by side with your existing npm. npx was trialed here first. And the npm canary also gets things where we're not sure if we're going to actually roll it out in npm. So it gives us like that easy test bed for more experimental features. And there's a host of additional things. There are the package locks and shrink wraps support cross-registry use, which means if you have a corporate proxy that you have to use while you're at work, and it just proxies to the real registry, and you make a shrink wrap, it's going to have the corporate proxy URLs in it. And then when you go onto the internet, none of your installs work. We now understand that. We go, well, we can see that registry URL. We know that that's, and because the lock file has SHA-sums in it, we know that you're getting exactly the same file, regardless of if you got it off a proxy or off the original registry. There are project-level pre-install lifecycles. Those are the things where you've got to pre-install in your top-level package.json. Those now actually run before anything else happens. Which had been a long-standing request, because what people wanted to be able to do was install new modules in their pre-install, like run things that modified their node modules folder, which you couldn't do before. Oftentimes, people would make like symlinks at that stage, but there are various things you can do there. So you can actually do that now. Install summaries. So the npm install in npm 4 was a mile long on modern projects. When npm was young, we would run npm install, and we'd go like, yeah, I installed 5 modules for you. And now you run npm install, and it's like, well, here's 500 modules I installed for you. And that's your starter project that you made from the generator, and it doesn't even have custom code in it yet. So it wasn't useful anymore. Getting that tree of everything that was installed, not useful at all. Now you get a small summary, and it'll also tell you, if you explicitly ask for something, it tells you about the status of those things. JSON files, package.json, package lock.json, we now preserve the indentation, because there are some people who really want to have tabs in their package.json, because they're like, well, our tools, yell at us if we don't do this. And we're like, all right, fine. If you put tabs in there, we'll keep tabs in there. Packages are now signed with SHA-5, or not signed, but now use SHA-512 hashes. Up until now, all packages have been hashed with SHA-1. We now hash with both SHA-1 and SHA-512, and npm5 uses SHA-512 in preference to SHA-1. And this is really just about future-proofing, of course. We're using the package integrity standard, which is something that, or rather, browser integrity. There's a standard for like putting integrity fields in actual HTTP headers. So we're just making use of that. And npm-ls can actually show you, so if you've got a package lock and you ran npm install and it failed to install one of the modules and it gave you an error, and you're like, well, this isn't one of my dependencies. Where the hell did this come from? npm-ls can actually show you that dependency now, because it has the package lock, so it knows everything it was going to try to install, so it can query that. One of the other goals beyond new features, speed, was to make npm easier to contribute to. And part of that, like making it easier to contribute to, is about splitting it out into these smaller modules, like Pacoche and Make Fetch Happen and Kakash. And we're going to continue that. And also just doing our initial development on features in external utilities and then pulling them into npm. Kind of like how npx originally you would npm install npx separately, and you can still do that, but it's also bundled with npm. And we also have package.community, and because we live in a terrible dystopian world of not having real TLDs, that is an actual URL. You can enter that into your browser, and it'll take you to a page where you can sign up for a Discord. And this was somewhat embarrassing to talk about when I was giving this talk at Slack, but you can sign up for a Discord, which is it's a community for discussing package management issues across languages. So we have developers from Ruby gems and Go's dependency manager, and a variety of different folks hang out there. And there's an NPM channel there. And so that's if you're interested in getting involved, that's a great way to do it. And the future. Well, we've got a bunch of stuff coming. Probably the next thing is going to be the npm link overhaul. So there's the npm link command, which, if you don't give it any arguments, it makes a symlink to your local project in the global directory. And if you give it the name of something, it links from your global directory into your local project. And it's confusing and doesn't integrate well with package locks. So we've got a whole plan there. We'll be putting up a public RFC in the next couple of weeks, talking about what we're planning to do with it. I'm sure there will be more stupid NPX tricks. There's a little website, NPX Amazing, that's tracking things you can do with NPX. We're going to be getting two-factor auth in the next couple of months. Not exactly sure when that will land yet, but it'll be in Canary first. And that will be two-factor auth on login, and you'll also be able to enable it if you want to require two-factor auth for publishes, which is like the final real answer to the couldn't somebody write an npm worm? And the answer is yes, trivially. But not if we can get people to use two-factor auth, or at least get the authors of, get the Cinder Sorehouses with his 1,000 modules to use this. We're also, another plan for the year involves all new registry APIs, where we're rewriting the registry. Historically, the registry has been, you talk to it using like gets and posts that are based off of like CouchDB APIs. It's not particularly designed, and it isn't scaling to like the current level of traffic and use that it gets. And so we want to move towards more of a sync model, where it will go, you'll go, well, this is here's what I have in my cache currently, and here's what I want. Figure out what's different and send me that. So when that comes, that should bring a substantial speed increase to many projects, especially on slower links. And workspaces, which is something that came out of discussion with the Yarn people. They have a proposal around adding these, and it's essentially there's a tool called Lerna that's used for monorepo projects, which again is where you've got a bunch of modules in a single Git repo. And so Lerna is a tool for managing this. And there were some pieces that really made sense for them to more be in the package manager and not in Lerna. So workspaces collect those together in a standard way, and that will be a new piece of package.json metadata that both npm and Yarn and probably pnpm and some of the other package managers will support. So in summary, npm 5, faster, better, safer. Use it today. We're very excited about it.
Awesome. Does anyone have any softball easy questions for Rebecca? We have time afterwards. You can dive deeper, but just for the sake of you've got everyone's attention, any easy ones? I know I have one. The file dependency. Does that mean I no longer have to really use npm link if I'm linking it locally to a local?
It saves it to your package.json that way. Is the difference. So if you're OK with that, no, there's no reason to use npm link. If you do, the reason to have it something like npm link in the future, and workspaces are related to this as well, is so that you can have a dependency on an actual version specifier, but at the moment, temporarily, I want a symlink, to my development copy of that other module, because I'm editing both of them at the same time. npm the file dependencies aren't designed for that use case. They're designed for the I bundle these.
Run npm linkages
Yeah. Huh?
temporarily.
Temporarily. Yeah, you can totally do that. Works fine.
Any other questions? Gotta be at least one.
Oh yeah, and I'll have a bunch of stickers afterwards. We have the greaser wombat, and we've got some other things. So.
No questions?
I have a
Hey.
question, but I think it's only because I walked in late. Do you work for NPM?
Yes, I'm the tech lead for the CLI team.
Thanks.
You had a question?
Was this all on NPM's roadmap, or did Yarn kind of give?
Hmm? I'm sorry, I couldn't make you out.
Was this all part of NPM's roadmap already, with regardless
So,
of Yarn or any other?
yeah, pretty much. The interesting thing about the speed is that, like I said, that was actually kind of an accident. Like, obviously, we wanted it to be faster, but the cache rewrite has been on the table literally since 2012, and we're finally like, no, we're gonna finally freaking do this. And then we did, and it was like, all right, let's try just plugging it in and see how it goes. And it was like twice as fast as what we currently had, and we're like, well, and then it just got faster, like as that went on. And then npm got fast enough that you could do those smaller micro optimizations where you would shave 5 seconds off a build. Well, no one cares if you shave 5 seconds off a 3-minute build, but they do care if you shave 5 seconds off a 20-second build. And so we got down to that point, and so then we started getting community contribution, bringing in these smaller optimizations, and that's how we ended up getting to the point where basically, like all of the package manager, there are 3 package managers currently that implement most of the npm spec, and that's pnpm, npm, and yarn. And we're all about we're close to the same speed, and depending on which project you choose to benchmark on, different ones are faster. And it's highly dependent on the specifics of the project that you're testing with, because the parts that are wicked fast in each one of them are slightly different.